Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz drummer Brandon Goodwin of the Canadian jazz collective Bees Bees. The band is a hard-swinging jazz outfit known for writing compelling original music and playing high-energy interpretations of the music of past masters like the Jazz Messengers, Thelonious Monk, and Charlie Haden. They are made up of 4 core members and several charter members, and they started their world together after they won over the audience at their debut concert at the Montreal International Jazz Festival in 2012. These days, they are promoting their latest 2018 CD, Kanata. So get to know Brandon, the band, and dig this interview, my friends.
Hey, thanks again for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So I love your work, man. You guys sound great. And it's one of those things where when I get some of these albums, I may sit on it a little while, and there's others that I immediately put on the show, and you guys were right on top of the list. You were the next week after I heard you. So it's great stuff.
Cool.
Let me go ahead and dive right in here and ask you about Kanata, your latest album. Talk to me about this CD. How happy are you with it?
It's probably like we spent a year rehearsing that music, and then we toured it, and then we recorded it about a year ago. So it's been a kind of a 2-year project, and it's something that I'm one of the most proud moments I ever had in my musical career was when I got the physical copy in my hand, and it was very emotional because I put a lot of time into it and pretty much all of my energy over the last 2 years. So I'm extremely happy with it, and I'm very proud of everybody who helped me with this project, the guys who played on it, the engineers, everybody. I'm just very, very proud of this new album.
So talk to me about growing up in the beautiful city of Montreal and how you got involved with music.
I've been in Montreal for 12 years, but I grew up in British Columbia, so the west coast of Canada. Well, not the coast, but the western part of Canada. And I played music for most of my life, piano to guitar to trumpet, and then finally to drums. And I'm from a very, very small town, kind of a farm town in BC. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities to kind of be mentored by professional musicians or anything like that. But I was very lucky because the one high school in my town had a phenomenal music teacher. As soon as he would see interest in a student, he would just give them all the resources and give them extra time to kind of mentor them. And so that was my initial upbringing in music and just playing in local kind of rock bands with my friends and stuff. And then from there I started, once I graduated from high school, I started taking drum lessons with a lot of different people. I started with local teachers, and then I started driving to Vancouver once a month to study with a guy by the name of Dave Robbins, who's an amazing jazz drummer. And then when I moved to Montreal 12 years ago, I started studying with any guys who would take some time with me. I would just kind of pick their brains and ask them a million questions. And over the last couple of years, I've started going down to New York City and taking lessons with Dan Weiss and Ari Honig. So those two guys are people that I really admire how they play the drums. Those lessons have been really eye-opening for me, and I'll probably do soon. Maybe on this upcoming tour, we actually have a couple days off in New York, so maybe I'll grab another lesson from one of them if they have the time.
So why is it the drum set that you landed on of all the instruments you could have picked?
Actually, I had saved up some money when I was a kid to buy a guitar, and I always say that it was my dad's idea for me to play drums because he just kind of told me, he said, look, there's a drum set for sale in the newspaper, we should go check it out, and we did, and then we ended up buying it. My parents knew how much I loved to play music, and they really supported me. But, I'd play on my friend's drum kit a lot and at his house, so it was something that I was interested in. But as soon as I got the drums, I was obsessed with them. I'm sure my dad, after about a month, was regretting his big idea. It was really his idea for me to play drums at the beginning.
So how did the band Bees Bees come together? What brought you all together?
I was going to Concordia University here in Montreal, so that's where I did my undergrad degree. And I won a scholarship in my final year to perform. So the scholarship winner got to perform with their own band at the Montreal International Jazz Festival. At the time, I played some gigs here and there, but I didn't have a real band. So that was actually the first official concert was at the Montreal International Jazz Festival in front of a huge audience. I have no idea how many people were there, but it was packed. It was a very surreal experience, and it's one that I'll never forget, and one of the coolest experience I've ever had in my life. So that was the start of the project, and it gave us what it did is it gave us kind of a seed that was allowed us to expand, like get more gigs and kind of get some exposure to the band early on because we had already played at the Jazz Festival. I kind of used that as a selling point of the band. Yeah, so that was our first gig, and kind of the initial beginnings of the group was the scholarship Jazz Festival gig.
You guys are a swinging kind of jazz band, and you get a lot of inspiration from Thelonious Monk and Charlie Haden. Has your sound evolved over time to a different sound, or have you guys been somewhat consistent with what you guys have always loved?
That's a really good question, and so like you said, we're very much influenced by artists such as Thelonious Monk and Charlie Haden, who I can talk about a bit more as well, because we do have an album of Charlie Haden compositions. But our initial first album that we put out in 2015 was a 7-piece band. So there was 2 saxophones, trombone, and then a 4-piece rhythm section. And that was like, you could pretty much say that was a hard bop album. We were playing very hard bop influenced tunes, kind of Blakey shuffles and that sort of thing. So that was about 3 years ago or 4 years ago that we recorded it. And since then, we've played a lot of concerts, so maybe over 100 shows, and we rehearsed a lot. And so we definitely developed what we were doing beyond the genre of hard bop. And so because of our Charlie Haden project as well, which is kind of a side thing where we take Charlie Haden compositions and we arrange them, we give new arrangements to them, and but there's still kind of that kind of improvised, very melody-based type of music that Charlie Haden really was known for. So using that influence and just kind of growing together over the last couple of years, I think we have stepped out of hard bop genre, and that we definitely are still rooted in swing, as you said. That's kind of our primary rule of the group, is that it's always got a swing. We'll always have that with our sound. It's hard for me to say also because we just put out this album. I can still hear some hard bop influence in it, but I think we've definitely evolved, and that we have got more in the direction of developing something that is our own sound.
You started touring last year. You embarked on a big tour, your first major one, and you guys have played in a lot of venues in Montreal, Canada, and the States, and you've been around. What is it like for you all to perform live? Is it something that provides you a great amount of growth, bonding? What does it mean for you?
We're all very passionate about music and about jazz especially. When we perform jazz, that passion and love for the music, I can feel it when we play. We're generally all smiling and having a good time because we're really happy to be on stage. So I've been told that we're a fun band to watch because we have an excitement when we play. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it.
So you guys have charted pretty well. Your last album got up to number 4 on the iTunes Canadian Jazz charts, and you guys have historically done pretty well with your albums. At this point in your career, how do you all feel about what's going on and what the future looks like?
I can kind of guess what the guys would say, but for me personally, this is one of the most exciting times in my music career and in my entire life, because as the band leader, it's seen a project that I've been leading grow so consistently over the past 6 years and turn into what it has today, and then have people such as yourself, Joe, and other people in the media and fans have people showing genuine interest in what we do is very inspiring and very exciting. I have a very positive outlook of the next few years, and I hope beyond that, just because of the amount of positive feedback that we're receiving. And also I know that the guys are really excited about it too, because I think when we first started this band, we weren't really thinking about, doing touring. And on this tour, we're playing with Delphio Marsalis. So we've got some incredible guests who are some of the leading artists in the jazz world. So I don't think any of us, when we first started out, had any sort of idea that we would be able to achieve these sorts of things. Yeah, I'm just so excited about what's going on right now, and I very much look forward to the future.
So why do you love jazz?
That's a very good question, and it's interesting because when I first started listening to jazz, like I said, in my high school, my teacher, he would kind of mentor us and point us in the right direction. So he was giving me Miles Davis CDs, and I remember he gave me this Blue Note compilation that I was just obsessed with for a while. I don't know. I guess I could just hear the conversations that they were having in the music and the groove. And jazz for me is such a positive thing because it's people expressing their emotions. So I always felt really, really happy when I would listen to jazz, and I still do. So, but I can't quite pinpoint exactly why, but it's probably a combination of those things.
I think that's a great way to sum everything up. Brandon, thank you for taking a minute out to talk with Neon Jazz. I appreciate the music, and I appreciate your time, man.
Thank you very much, Joe. And yes, I look forward to hearing the show.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Kansas City, Montreal, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Brandon for his time, his music, and sitting in on behalf of the band to give us his story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.